Her records sold $170 million. Her own cut, from the contract that started everything, was $1,972. That is not a typo, and it is not tabloid math. Toni Braxton said it herself, on camera, to a national news reporter. He read the two numbers back to her just to be sure he had it right. 170 million on one side, 1,972 on the other. And she looked at him and said, "Yeah, that is right. That is true." So tonight, we are going to do the one thing nobody else covering this story has bothered to do. We are going to open the contract. Because the question everyone asks, the question sitting at the top of every comment section, where did the other $169 million go, actually has an answer. It is written down. It is in the paperwork. And once we walk through that paperwork one line at a time, you are going to understand something uncomfortable. Toni Braxton did not lose this money. It was engineered out of her hands before she ever sang a note. Here is how this breaks down. 7 steps. We start with how big she truly was, because you have to feel the scale to understand the theft. Then we open the contract itself and walk it clause by clause, and we will point out every trap door as we pass it. We will get to the one admission that should have ended careers, the moment the man who helped build the deal was asked plainly whether it was fair. And the number they really do not want you to see is not the $1,972. It is waiting for you in step 5. Stay with us all the way there, because that is the moment this stops being a story about one woman and becomes a story about an entire machine. Step 1. Who she was. The story goes that a producer first heard her singing to herself at a gas station in Maryland. We cannot vouch for every detail of that morning, but the ending is not in dispute. In 1993, Toni Braxton released her debut album, and it detonated. 8 times platinum in the United States alone. A Grammy for Best New Artist. A voice so low and so warm that radio simply could not get enough of it. Then came the song, "You and Break My Heart." If you were alive in the 90s, you did not choose to hear it. It found you. It sat at the top of the charts for weeks and became one of the best-selling singles ever recorded by a woman. Across that whole run, her music generated somewhere around $170 million in sales. Hold that number close. $170 million moved because of her voice. Now watch how little of it was ever allowed to reach her. Step 2. The first crack. Picture the position she was in. The most promising new artist in the country. #1 records. Awards on the shelf. And almost nothing in the bank. By her own telling, the money that reached her personally from that first contract came to that one figure we opened with. Less than $2,000. People hear that and assume she must have spent wildly, or trusted the wrong manager, or made some foolish mistake. That is the lazy explanation, and it is wrong. To see what really happened, you cannot look at her spending. You have to look at the contract she signed. So let us open it. Step 3. The machine. Here is the part the other videos skip because it takes patience to explain. They just say the words "predatory contract" and move on. We are going to actually show you how the trap was built, because the genius of it is that no single clause looks like robbery. It is the way they stack together. Trapdoor number 1. The royalty rate. A brand new artist in that era did not earn half of a record's price, or even a quarter. By the accounts from her own legal fight, Toni was earning a rate that worked out to roughly 33 cents on an album. Not 33%. 33 cents. So already, of every album sold, the overwhelming majority of the money never had her name anywhere near it. Trapdoor number 2. The deductions. Before that tiny rate was even calculated, the label shaved off a chunk for what they called packaging, the cost of the case, and the artwork, often 20 to 25%. Then they shipped what the industry politely calls free goods, promotional copies sent to stores that simply did not count as sales at all. Her rate was small, and then it was applied to a number the label had already shrunk twice. Trapdoor number 3, and this is the big one. Recoupment. Everything it cost to make her a star was treated as a loan she had to pay back out of her share first. The recording sessions, the producers, the music videos, which in that era could cost most of $1 million each, the tour support, the marketing. All of it was charged against her royalties, so she did not see a cent of her own money until the label had recovered every dollar it spent building her. And because her rate was 33 cents, paying that back took forever. Trapdoor number 4, cross-collateralization. This is the clause that turns a bad deal into a cage. When one album had not fully paid back its costs, the unpaid balance did not disappear. It rolled forward and attached itself to the next album. So instead of ever clearing the slate, the debt reset and grew. She could sell millions of records, win Grammys, top the charts, and on paper still owe the company money. The more successful she became, the deeper the hole, because every new project arrived already carrying the last one's tab. That is the machine. Low rate, shrunk twice, then buried under costs that compound forward forever. Put those 4 clauses together, and you get the impossible arithmetic we started with. $170 million in sales, $1,972 to the artist. It was not an accident. It was the design working exactly as written. And we have not even gotten to the cruelest part yet. Step 4. The song she did not own, and the confession. Here is a detail almost no one mentions. Unbreak My Heart, the song that defined her, the song that sold the most, was written by Diane Warren. That matters more than it sounds. In music, the person who writes the song collects the publishing money, and publishing is often where the real fortune lives. So the single most valuable asset of Toni Braxton's entire career, the song people will play at weddings and funerals for the next 100 years, generated a river of publishing income that flowed almost entirely past her. She sang it to the world. She did not own it. Now sit with what that means. The recording contract gave her 33 cents, minus deductions, minus a mountain of recouped costs. And the one piece that might have made her rich, the songwriting, was never hers to begin with. The system had closed both doors. You might think this is just one cynical reading of an old deal. So let us bring in a witness and not a critic. Years later, in a legal proceeding, the very man who co-founded the label and helped sign her, Kenneth Edmonds, the producer the world knows as Babyface, was asked a simple question. As a fellow artist, looking at the deal Toni Braxton was on, was it fair? He did not dodge. His answer was no. He said that if he had sold the records she sold, there was no question he should have been getting much more. Read that again. The architect of the deal, under oath, admitted the deal was not fair to the artist who made it work. When the person who built the cage tells you it was a cage, the case is closed. Step 5. The number they do not want you to see. By 1998, after selling more than 20 million records, Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy. Let that sit for a second. One of the biggest stars on the planet, bankrupt, while her label sold her music by the truckload. And here is what makes her different from almost everyone else this happened to. She fought. She sued, not for a bigger check, but to tear the contract up completely. Her lawyers pointed to a California law that says no personal service contract can hold you for more than 7 years. By their reading, her deal had been legally dead since the summer of 1996, and the label's response tells you everything about the mindset. The company that had paid her pennies turned around and countersued her, claiming that she was the one who owed them. In the end, she came out ahead. She broke free and signed a new deal, a real one this time, reportedly worth millions, with a far higher rate. So this is a happy ending, right? She escaped the machine. Hold on, because here is the number we promised you. Here is the one they bury. In 2010, Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy a second time. And when we pulled the filing, one line stopped us cold. She still owed more than $16 million to record labels. Not the old LaFace contract. The new one. The better one. The deal she had clawed through a bankruptcy and a lawsuit to win. The total debt in that 2010 filing came to more than $18 million. There was over $733,000 owed to the tax authorities, a mortgage of nearly $1.5 million, and her monthly income and her monthly expenses sat almost exactly equal, around $57,000 each, which is the textbook definition of running flat out just to stay in place. This is the whole point. She did everything right the second time. She got the lawyer. She got the better contract. And the machine caught her anyway, because the machine was never about one bad deal. It was the structure itself. It did not help that the second collapse came with a gut punch she never saw coming. By her own account, she had just renewed every contract with every vendor for her Las Vegas residency. All the lighting, the dancers, the crew, when her body gave out. She was diagnosed with lupus and a serious heart condition. She could no longer perform the run she had personally financed. And the insurance that should have covered a canceled show reportedly used her illness against her to avoid paying out. So she was left holding the bill for a show she was physically unable to perform. The label was owed $16 million. Her health was gone, and the safety net had a hole cut in exactly her size. Step 6. This was never just her. If you think Toni Braxton was uniquely unlucky, we need to widen the lens, because she was not an exception. She was the rule. Take TLC, the best-selling American girl group of all time. At the absolute peak of their fame, with one album alone past 10 million copies, all three women filed for bankruptcy. On television, they did the math themselves. Each member was earning around 56 cents per album. After the recording costs and the taxes and splitting what remained 3 ways, what was left came to roughly $300,000 each on 10 million records sold. Same machine, same ending, and the pattern did not retire in the 90s. Years later, Toni Braxton signed with Cash Money Records. That is the same label whose own biggest star, Lil Wayne, would later sue the founder for $51 million just to win his freedom and the rights to his own music. When the most valuable artist on a label has to sue for $51 million to escape, you can imagine the leverage held over everyone smaller. Different decade, different names, same blueprint. The artist makes the art. The structure keeps the money. Step 7. What she did with what was left. Here is where the story turns, and it is the reason we never wanted this to sound like mockery. Toni Braxton walked away from more than $18 million in debt, and then she rebuilt. Today, she is reportedly worth somewhere between $10 and $12 million. She still tours. She still sells out rooms. She went back on television and told her own story on her own terms. And when the press tried to inflate her debt to a shocking $50 million, she pushed back with a line that tells you exactly who she became. She said she had even read somewhere that she owed money on a BMW. And the thing was, She did not even own a BMW. That is a woman who finally knows where every dollar is. Which brings us to the one piece of advice she was given long ago, by Oprah, when the first bankruptcy hit. Sign every check yourself. Be the first person to open the envelope. Look at every signature and make sure it is yours. That is the lesson buried under all of this, and it is worth more than any single number. The artists who survived the machine, the ones who built lasting fortunes, were almost never the most talented. They were the ones who controlled the paperwork, who owned the songs, who signed the checks. Toni Braxton gave the world one of the most unforgettable voices of a generation, and the contract handed her $1,972 for it. The voice was always hers. It just took her 2 bankruptcies and 20 years to make sure the money was too. So the next time you hear that an artist sold $100 million of records and ended up broke, do not ask what they wasted it on. Ask who wrote the contract, because that is where the money always went, and that is the part they are hoping you never read. If you want us to open another one of these contracts, the ones the labels would rather keep closed, let us know whose deal we should pull apart next.